Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Awesome. Today, we're talking about something I bet you have stuck somewhere around you right now.
Let me guess.
The Post-it note.
Oh, those little squares. Everyone knows about those. What's so deep dive worthy about Post-its?
You might be surprised. We've got excerpts from the official Post-it brand websites, a Wikipedia article, even a YouTube video all about how they were invented.
Really? I'm intrigued.
And to get us thinking outside the box, we even have a Medium article on all sorts of creative ways people are using Post-it notes.
Wow. Okay, you've got my attention.
So get ready to uncover some surprising facts about the Post-it note. You might even get inspired to use them in a whole new way.
I'm ready.
Okay, so Post-it notes. Where do we even begin? I guess with how they came about in the first place.
Sounds good to me.
Right. So it all started with, well, kind of mistake. Back in 1968, a scientist at 3M, Dr. Spencer Silver, was working on adhesives.
Oh, so like glue and stuff.
Exactly. But get this, he wasn't trying to make something that, wasn't sticky. He was trying to invent a super strong adhesive.
Huh. So how did the Post-it come out of that?
Well, he accidentally created this low-tack adhesive that would peel right off without leaving any residue behind.
Sounds kind of useless if you want things to actually stick together.
Yeah. It was basically a solution without a problem. He spent years trying to find a use for it.
I bet that was frustrating, having this cool invention but no one knowing what to do with it.
Totally. And, it could have just ended up as a forgotten lab experiment. But a few years later, another 3M scientist, Art Fry, had his own problem to solve. He sang in his church choir, right? And he was always losing his place in his hymnal because his bookmarks kept falling out.
Oh, I hate when that happens.
Right. And then, one day, it just clicked. He remembered Dr. Silver's adhesive and realized, hey, this would be the perfect bookmark.
I love those moments when a random idea turns out to be brilliant. Seriously. So, he took that low-tack adhesive and created a bookmark that stayed put but didn't rip the pages.
Ingenious.
And that, my friend, is how the Post-it note was born.
Well, kind of.
What do you mean?
From what I read, the first version they came up with wasn't exactly a hit.
Oh, right. They called it press and peel. Didn't really catch on.
It's amazing how a name can make or break a product, right?
Totally. But 3M wasn't ready to give up on the idea. They came up with this awesome marketing campaign. They called it the Boise Blitz.
The Boise Blitz. What's that?
They basically flooded Boise, Idaho with free Post-it notes.
Really? The whole city?
Pretty much. They gave them to businesses, schools, anyone who would take them. It was all about letting people experience the product firsthand.
So like, try it, you'll like it kind of thing.
Exactly. And guess what? It worked.
People loved them.
90% of the people who tried them said they would buy them. That Boise Blitz showed just how powerful a good marketing campaign can be. Wow. So from a lab accident to a citywide experiment, the Post-it note had quite a journey to stardom.
It really did. But you know what's even more surprising?
What's that?
How the Post-it note went way beyond that simple yellow square. There's a whole universe of Post-it products out there now.
Oh, yeah, I've seen those, like different colors, shapes, sizes.
Exactly. Super sticky notes, cube notes, even ones for really extreme conditions. 3M really got creative.
They saw how much people loved the original and just ran with it, huh?
And get this, that iconic canary yellow color. It wasn't some grand plan.
Really? I always thought that was a branding thing.
Nope. It was just because they had some spare yellow paper in the lab next door and decided to use that.
So, a bit of an accident again.
Seems like it. Sometimes the best things come from the most unexpected places.
I guess so. It makes you think about all the possibilities just waiting to be discovered.
Okay, so we've got the origin story, the marketing magic, the lucky color choice. But what about how people are actually using these sticky little things?
Yeah, they're obviously good for notes and reminders, but are people really getting that creative with them?
Oh, you have no idea. Let's dive into the world of Post-it note creativity, shall we?
Let's do it.
Okay, so we've established that people use Post-its for brainstorming. But how does that actually work?
Well, it's interesting how these simple sticky notes have become a key part of design thinking.
Design thinking.
Yeah, it's basically this problem-solving method. They use it in all sorts of fields.
Okay, so how do Post-its fit into that?
So one popular technique is something called open sorting. Have you heard of it?
It rings a bell, but refresh my memory.
Sure. So you write down your ideas, each on its own, Post-it, right? Then you start grouping them together.
By category.
Exactly. But the cool thing is, The categories emerge organically as you're working. It's not predetermined.
So you're kind of creating a visual map of the ideas.
Right. You can literally see the connections and patterns that might have been missed if you were just, talking things out or writing in a notebook.
That makes sense. I could see how that would be really helpful for teams working together.
Absolutely. It's all about collaboration and getting those creative juices flowing.
So are there any other ways people use Post-its for problem solving, besides this open sorting thing?
Oh, tons. There's the Eisenhower matrix, for example.
The Eisenhower matrix, what's that?
It's basically a way to prioritize tasks, to figure out what needs to be done right away and what can wait.
I like that.
Yeah. So you make this grid, right? 2 by 2, and you label each quadrant urgent, not urgent, important, not important.
Okay,
And then you take your tasks, write them on Post-its, and stick them in the appropriate quadrant.
I see. So anything urgent and important gets tackled first.
Bingo. And the stuff that's not urgent and not important, well, maybe you can just ignore that altogether.
Ah, that's my favorite quadrant already.
It's a simple system, but it really helps you visualize your workload and get things done efficiently.
You mentioned design thinking a couple times. For our listeners who might not be familiar, can you explain what that is?
Design thinking, sure. It's all about putting people at the center of the design process. Understanding their needs, their problems.
So it's not just about aesthetics.
No, not at all. It's about solving real problems for real people. And it's about experimenting and iterating until you get it right.
I like that. So how do Post-it notes fit into this whole design thinking thing?
Well, they're useful at every stage of the process. In the empathy phase, for example, you can use them to capture observations and insights about the people you're designing for.
Like writing down what you notice about how they use a certain product or service.
Exactly. Then, during the ideation phase, Post-its are great for brainstorming. Throwing out ideas, sketching things out.
And those ideas can be moved around in groups, just like we talked about with open sorting.
Exactly. And finally, in prototyping, you can even use Post-its to create quick mock-ups of your ideas.
Wow, I'm really seeing the versatility here. It's pretty cool how such a simple tool could be so adaptable.
Right. It's all about thinking outside the box. Pun intended.
Haha. Okay, well played. But it's true, though. Post-its aren't just for work stuff, are they? I mean, I use them all the time at home.
Oh, yeah, definitely. To-do lists, reminders, leaving messages for family. The possibilities are endless.
I even use them to label leftovers in the fridge sometimes.
See? Creativity in the kitchen?
Speaking of creativity,
Yeah.
we've talked about brainstorming and problem solving, but what about Post-it notes as a way to, like, connect with others?
Oh, for sure. It can be as simple as leaving a little great job note on a coworker's desk.
Or a thinking of you
Yeah.
for a friend who's going through a tough time.
Exactly. Those little gestures can really brighten someone's day,
And they add a personal touch, which I think is really important in today's world.
Absolutely. Especially with all the technology and social media we're bombarded with. A handwritten note, even on a Post-it, can really stand out.
Okay, and we can't forget the Post-it notes' role in pop culture. They've been featured in movies, TV shows, even art installations.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're so ubiquitous, it's no surprise they've become this cultural icon. Remember that episode of Grey's Anatomy?
The Post-it note wedding vows?
Yes, that was such a sweet moment. It showed that even a simple Post-it can represent a deep and lasting commitment.
And then there's that infamous Post-it note breakup on Sex and the City.
Oh, right. Talk about adding insult to injury.
To one little square.
Yeah.
And so many different emotions attached to it.
Exactly. And beyond those individual moments, artists have used Post-its to create amazing large-scale installations. Have you seen those?
I have. There's a Turkish artist, I think his name is Ardan Osmanoğlu, who uses thousands of Post-its to create these incredible mosaic-like pieces.
It's fascinating, right? They're so colorful and vibrant.
And then there are the more social and political uses of Post-it notes, like this subway therapy project in New York City after the 2016 election.
Oh, right. People used Post-it notes to express their feelings, their hopes and fears.
It was like this public forum for sharing and processing everything that was going on. And a similar thing happened with the Lennon Wall in Hong Kong, where people used Post-its to express their political views.
Wow. It's amazing to think about this simple office supply becoming a tool for social commentary and activism.
It really shows the power of collective expression and how something as small as a Post-it note can amplify those voices.
Totally. Okay, so we've talked about all these amazing ways people use Post-its, but I have a question.
What's that?
What exactly makes them stick, but also peel off so easily without leaving a mark? Like, what's the science behind it?
It's all about the microspheres. Yeah,
Microspheres.
remember Dr. Silver's accidental adhesive?
Yeah.
It's made up of these tiny, tiny beads of glue, and get this, those beads create a bumpy surface, so only a small part of the adhesive is actually touching the paper or whatever you're sticking it to.
Oh, I see. So it's not like a solid layer of glue all over the back?
Nope. It's more like thousands of tiny sticky dots, and that's what gives it that temporary, repositionable bond. Pretty cool, huh?
That is really cool. I never would have thought there was so much science behind a little sticky note.
Right. It's like a miniature marvel of engineering.
And speaking of marvels, the Post-it note has gone beyond paper. There are now virtual Post-it note apps for computers and phones.
Oh, I've used those. They're great for organizing tasks and brainstorming digitally.
3M even has their own app called Post-it brand software notes. And then there are the built-in apps like Stickies in Mac OS and Sticky Notes in Windows.
So many options.
Yeah.
It's like the best of both worlds,
Well,
right?
it really is. You have the tactile experience of the physical Post-it note, but also the convenience and shareability of the digital.
And it shows that a simple yet brilliant idea can evolve and adapt to new technologies.
Exactly. The Post-it note is a true testament to human ingenuity and creativity.
From a lab accident to a global phenomenon, who knew there was so much to discover about this little sticky square?
And we haven't even touched on everything. It makes you wonder what other happy accidents are out there just waiting to be discovered.
It's mind-blowing when you think about it, right?
Yeah.
This tiny little square has had such a huge impact.
I know. It just shows you the simplest ideas can be the most powerful.
Definitely. Who would have thought there was so much to learn about the Post-it note?
Seriously. And to think, it all started because someone wanted to keep their place in a hymnal.
It really makes you wonder what other everyday problems are out there just waiting for that, that spark of genius to solve them.
Like, what else is hiding in plain sight?
Exactly. Well, we've explored a lot today. The accidental invention, the marketing blitz, all the creative ways people are using them, even the science behind that sticky stuff.
And we can't forget their moment in the pop culture spotlight.
Oh yeah, from wedding vows to breakups. The Post-it note has seen it all.
It's like a blank canvas for, well, pretty much anything.
I think we've officially given everyone a newfound appreciation for the humble Post-it note.
And maybe inspired a few people to think outside the box, too.
I hope so. Now we want to hear from you. What's the most unusual or creative way you've used a Post-it note? Head over to our website and let us know. We always love hearing your stories.
Until next time, keep those ideas sticking.